Hey Gemini, welcome to your timeless reading. I trust that this will find you at the time and place that it most resonates. And as always, use your discernment when listening to tarot readings because you know your life and your situation best. And this is really just meant as either like confirmation or guidance. And I tend to deal just with energies, meaning like I'm not predicting your future or anything like that. I'm just talking about what's going on in the moment and maybe how we can navigate it. That is plenty of cards. I'm using my Prism Tarot if I didn't already say that. And my Iris Oracle. Here we go. There's Prism and here's Iris Oracle. Anything want to come out? Thank you. Okay. So we got Broken and Hatched. Alchemy. Nice. We got Take Up Space, the Emperor. Exploration, Novice of Lightning, aka Page of Wands. Seven of Lightning, aka Seven of Wands, Defense. The World, Ascension. Five of Gems, aka Five of Pentacles, Need. Three of Wands, Three of Lightning, The Journey. Seven of Raindrops, Seven of Cups, Choices. And the Moon, Shadow Work. Great. Love it. Well, what do we want to talk about, Gemini? I guess I'm going to read this one first from the little book. 72. The ability to see a new perspective sometimes comes from a rude awakening. That which breaks you also sets you free. Leave your comfort zone and your shell behind. Honor that which was destroyed and torn down in your life because although difficult, it aided you in hatching. And we also got like this need and like we got this defense and we got shadow work. Yeah. I mean, with this energy, I'm kind of getting like a little bit of a mix of like the Tower plus the Hangman of kind of Gemini, you being in a stage where like maybe you've come as far as you can within like a certain either situation, environment, set of patterns, habits, and I think it's like obviously something has to break. Maybe not literally, but kind of like straw that broke the camel's back type vibes. Like, there's just a need for a shift in either perspective or action, probably both. That's obvious from what the cards said, but I feel like a lot of this pertains to this need and this defense of, like, I think kind of partly what I'm getting is opening up your heart and also kind of stepping outside of your comfort zone. I like to do empathetic readings, meaning like I'm placing myself in your situation, and sometimes then I speak from my own experience just to connect the dots. And something that's been coming up a lot recently in my world is this kind of notion that fear and failure and all that is actually a comfort zone that keeps us safe. So this whole idea of need, not having enough, of defense, of like being out on your own, of not having support, feels like it's coming up in connection to this shadow work and maybe some of these patterns that need to be broken. So Gemini, I feel like partly what we're being called to do is to take a look at kind of where we're getting in our own way. And a lot of this feels like, especially since you're an air sign, like kind of the mental energy that maybe gets used, kind of perpetuating some narratives about maybe there being a lack of resources or a lack of opportunity or a lack of help. I feel like with both of these cards, like, to me, I'm just getting like a really big vibe of like a lack of help. Like, I need help, but I don't have it. I'm, like, crying diamonds, which is actually pretty nice. I mean, if you're crying diamonds, then something's not terrible in your life, I guess. And then, although it might hurt, who knows? Okay, defense. I'm just making jokes that aren't funny. That's something I do sometimes. Okay. Defense. It's like this kind of like back and forth of like, I need help, but I don't trust help to help me. I need support, but I don't believe it's out there. I want community, but I feel like people are out to get me. And maybe you're not like literally thinking this all the time, you know, like this isn't your constant internal monologue, but I do feel just kind of the sense of like, again, shadow work, and the moon is kind of also a card of illusions sometimes, or like misunderstandings or lack of clarity. I don't know why it's those things, because I really like the moon. But the moon also represents the subconscious mind, and hence I think the shadow work, which is like, where again are there stories lurking within how we are operating programming systems that are kind of keeping us repeating options, I would say, that we don't want. And I say options with choices. And I feel like part of this breaking free of like the old narrative of like, I'm on my own, no one can help me, I want help, but like there isn't help to be had, is to kind of look at your life, look at your choices, but look at where maybe there are options that you kind of like are having a hard time accessing because they're beyond kind of like your paradigm of what you presently understand. So I guess that's to say there are infinite possibilities, infinite choices, infinite paths of how our stories and our lives can go, but the way brains work is our brains take in this information, they create catalogs of likely future outcomes based on past events, which is obvious, but that can end up being limiting in the sense of like, if we've only experienced, okay, this is an example that's totally weird. Apparently, and maybe it's just the internet lying to me, it's possible, but apparently there is such a thing as a blue banana that tastes like vanilla. The banana looks blue and it tastes like vanilla. A better example maybe is the fact that there are literally aliens in the news. If you turn on the news, like the actual news, they're like, oh, there's UFOs, by the way, and no one cares. And maybe the reason why no one cares is because it's beyond our comprehension to really fathom living in a world where there are aliens. Or blue bananas that taste like vanilla. I mean, let's say they are real, but even if they are like actually real, I personally have a hard time. I'm like, maybe that's fake news, right? Like, I have a hard time comprehending that as being a viable option of something I can eat that exists, because it's not been in my vocabulary or my understanding of life or reality up to this point. Or aliens, example. It's like society is just collectively deciding to ignore aliens because it's beyond our comprehension. I'm holding up here. I should hold up this one when I'm talking about aliens. The world, right? I think what I'm trying to say to us, Gemini, is that part of stepping into the unknown is indeed scary. We got this journey card, but plot twist, or maybe food for thought, blue banana food for thought, or putting it out there, that actually everything we've experienced up to this point, shadow work, the past, all this defense and need, and like feeling like isolated and alone and like nothing's ever working out for us, is actually scarier than what's ahead. You know, maybe, example, the blue bananas taste way better than regular yellow bananas, or aliens are really benevolent here to help humanity from killing ourselves. You know, like, just to say, Gemini, that whatever the future holds is likely indeed much better than what has existed in the past. But with the choices, I think part of what eludes us and keeps us in over here doing, like, perpetual shadow work is just that, like, that feels safer. That's the comfort zone. That's what we know. That's, like, even the pattern of fixing this, or, like, needing to heal our wounds and our, like, lack mentality patterns, or our defensiveness, or our neediness, or whatever it is that we think is wrong with us. Like, maybe in and of itself, like, that feels like, okay, well, if I'm always working on my self-improvement, then, like, I know I'm doing something, I know I'm being active, I know I'm trying. But if I'm also perpetually never solving it, then in a way, on a deeper subconscious level, like, I'm keeping myself where I want to be, which is, like, kind of on the hamster wheel of, like, I'm improving. But again, with the broken and hatched, and also with the world and the journey and ascension, I feel like kind of what's happening for you, Gemini, is maybe there's divine intervention. Like, God, I hope so, in a way, where it's maybe being done for you, or something is happening. Again, this felt kind of like a combination of, like, the Tower and the Hangman, where just something is kind of blowing your mind, where it just kind of shatters this loop of shadow work and, like, kind of these patterns. And it's maybe making you realize that there's way more possibility ahead of you than you could have possibly even understood. An example I can give for my own life is, like, I'm in a field where people like to say, oh, you know, like, the path to getting the job that you want is to do this job first, to get to know these people, and then they'll give you the job. And there's kind of, like, this tired and true path. But it's, like, thinking about, like, okay, that job, let's say the job is, like, I want to be the chef of this fancy restaurant because everyone loves it and everyone eats there and that's very prestigious. But it's like, if I connect with what is it that I really want about that job as a chef, well, I want to use my talents and abilities, my love and passion for food, to, you know, feed people and, like, bring them joy and bring them some kind of satisfaction. And I want to, like, be connected to my community through the thing I love. Like, that's the values I have in connection to this desire. And realizing, like, I don't need that specific job at that specific restaurant in order to fulfill those desires or those values. And I just discovered the reality of blue bananas that taste like vanilla. I'm gonna have to Google that and put it in, like, and maybe it's fake, right? Again, like, I don't know, but, or, you know, even if, like, blue bananas that taste like vanilla are fake, maybe just the concept of thinking out of the box like that, like, the fact that something like that could exist, maybe you're kind of, like, doing something radical where you're taking yellow bananas, making them look blue, and somehow, like, giving them a vanilla type flavor, and that becomes your signature dish that's very bizarre and different. With the choices, I'm just getting the fact that, like, the path forward is something that, like, maybe you could not have conceived of. I mean, I remember back in 2011, I had a lot of success on Twitter, and, you know, Twitter is now a cesspool, a hellish dystopian landscape, so I'm not on it anymore. But who could have told me in 2000 that I would have found success on something called Twitter? And who in 2011 would have told me that, like, I would have had a panic attack based on, like, nuclear war, and Donald Trump from Twitter. You know what I mean? Sorry, it's maybe TMI. yeah, but just like we don't know the future, and because we don't know the future also holds very bizarre, weird possibilities that aren't in our conception of what our brain can understand. So we like maybe limit ourselves from going after a new path, a new journey, a new way of being, something that might be more authentic and more interesting and more authentic and newer and better for us. The world in this, right? Like that we're at the end of a big cycle. I mean, collectively we are. It's true. This is coming up in pretty much all the readings on some level. But I think for you specifically, Gemini, it's like you're being invited to take up space, explore. I mean, look at these great energies and alchemy. So I'm trying to learn how to not repeat myself quite so much, but I think Gemini, it's like you've been in your comfort zone for way too long, and your comfort zone is in big part, just a mentality, an emotionally rooted one, right? Like maybe there's some of this that's like stuck in your body. So it's like maybe this is doing yoga or somatic therapy or primal screams or whatever. I don't know. But more likely, it's also just something is coming into your life that kind of like opens your eyes and maybe makes you question your sense of reality. Maybe it's kind of like a glitch in the matrix type of thing where you're like, what is reality? I am a little freaked out. But again, I feel like future stuff, Gemini, is better than this past constant shadow work cycle, and we're on a new journey to kind of see that there are infinite possibilities ahead and that things can be way different. So again, I don't have to keep going after that chef job that eludes me, where I'm constantly like not being hired for what I want, and I'm constantly like defending my own abilities, but like I'm going out and creating something brand new, i.e. this like dish that like no one's ever had before, because it's the end of a cycle and it's like a brand new dawn. It's the age of Aquarius, I guess, right? So Gemini, I think you are exploring within the scope of like letting your mind be blown, you know, but in a really positive, good way, where you're like kind of able, I think somehow, and I don't know how, I wish I kind of knew more about this energy, but I think that's part of it is being in the mystery. And so the mystery of how it happens is probably unique to each Gemini anyway. So I can't totally predict that, but it sounds like, again, that you are being opened to exploring new paths, new journeys, and new choices, new avenues, new possibilities of your purpose. My example with Twitter was just, I didn't know that existed. And then it ended up being a big part of my life. And then it ended up just, again, we are embarking on creating new paradigms. So maybe you're being met by new paradigms. And this, I think, is happening internally as well as externally. With these two, Gemini, I feel like another part of this is, I love that the Emperor is take up space in this one. Emperor being kind of like, I think, divine masculine energy. But alchemy too, I think, is an integration. And Gemini, I think this is like a particularly like interesting combo of information, of energy, whatever, for you, because you are a sign of duality, you are a sign of the twins, you're a sign of like paradox, you're a sign of like these extremes. And that can be a blessing and a curse. But alchemy kind of gives me temperance vibes, which is like, and I think I've said this to you in other readings, Gemini, but I think that because you're a Gemini, you maybe are sometimes scapegoated by society, because society, we all deal with duality, right? But like you're a sign that really embraces that. So sometimes people, again, shadow work coming up, who can't deal with their own complexities and their own contradictions see you embodying that, and they're like, oh, Gemini's crazy, Geminis are the worst, blah blah blah. But like, alchemy, it's like not even necessarily that you have to change per se, but I feel like Gemini, you're getting to a point where you like are able to not care about other people's perceptions, and where you're really kind of, and I mean, I think a lot of that has to do with this, right? The end of this old cycle and the end of kind of being in this shadow work loop, and kind of like letting go of your defenses and understanding that there's enough, like getting out of the scarcity mindset because you're seeing that there are infinite possibilities ahead and infinite ways to kind of make your mark on the world and to make a difference. And in fact, maybe the ways that you make a difference in the world are actually more powerful and more impactful and more life-changing and game-changing than what you were going for in the first place. You're on a new journey, on a new path of exploring those possibilities. So for example, to bring it back to my favorite example, that blue banana, you know, like let's say you got the prestigious job at the prestigious restaurant. Well, in a way, you're like a dime a dozen. You're just one of a line of other employees. Like the institution is the hero of that story, right? Like they're the prestige, and then your value comes from belonging to that group. Whereas if you're going out on your own path, carving your own way and exploring and kind of doing things differently and being a little bit of a maverick based on kind of like some new like downloads or insights or like concepts that are kind of coming into your life, like maybe again that radical idea of like, I'm going to be the first chef to like champion this like this fruit that like no one even knew existed. It's like, well, then you're really like, when you start pursuing that path, you're the first person to ever have done it, and you take up space in a way where it's like more about you and your genius and your authenticity and your like divine unique gifts that only you have. So I feel like a lot of this is like, you kind of are able to break free. Again, I don't know how this is happening, but it feels like you get end of a cycle begins a new concept of how the world works, and your new concept of how the world works opens you up to just kind of getting out of this and moving towards this, exploring a new journey that is based on infinite possibilities of things you didn't even know existed. And now you're able to take up space, make your mark. Alchemy being, you're able to take everything in your past, everything you've learned up to now, all of your expertise and skills, and use it towards that new journey. And like nothing was wasted, nothing was lost. The alchemy is like the integration of my past is in the past and I'm no longer pursuing it, but my past has informed me and given me the ability to take this journey and to embark on this exploration to doing something that really like makes the world a better place, and that is in divine alignment with the world and the future of what like I'm like, kind of like you're helping to create the future, you know, with this. Oops, I dropped exploration. But you get it. You're taking up space in a brand new way, and the alchemy, I mean, I can read the alchemy card just to wrap us up. See if it says anything. Your hands have the power to make gold, to create universal elixir. Have faith in your ability to perform transmutation. You can build the impossible. You can take anything, and by your touch, by your work, eliminate impurities and transform its appearance. You are magic. And I guess something I was getting with this is like I need other people to give me a boost, right? But like I was joking, like this thing is crying diamonds. But it's like maybe part of what you're transmuting is like some of that negative shadow work cycle that you were maybe in, of like feeling like you constantly needed to become a better person. Maybe that's becoming kind of like that old pressure, what I was saying too about how like your past, oh my god, okay, exploration. That past, right, the past ends up being compressed. It becomes it becomes the fuel, and, you know, like, coal compressed becomes diamond, so it's like you're kind of becoming a diamond, right? Like, somehow, some way, all of this kind of reaches its combustion point where you emerge and hatch out a brand new Gemini who alchemizes everything they touch. Everything you touch turns to diamonds or gold, and it's like, I don't need other people because, like, I can create the magic myself. Actually, that was, like, something my friend shared with me in a reading, if I can find, I don't know where I put it. But it was kind of, like, about how, like, you always have the ability to create your own magic. And I think you're also really being guided and kind of, and I don't know that it's, like, all obvious. I think it's partly a learning journey as you go along. But I do feel like things kind of are able to move swiftly because I think everything, in a weird way, has been leading you up to this point to kind of take some of these creative risks that, like, change the world and your life, I'm sure. So that's a great reading. And let me know if it resonated with you. And if it did, like and subscribe. And if it didn't, you probably stopped listening a while ago. And I love you, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.